This is the Outlaws Radio Show.
But first, let's get to our special guest. This is my good friend. She is also formerly from America's Next Top Model, and she is the host of Backstage Pass with Victoria. Make sure that you guys go subscribe to Backstage Pass with Victoria on all podcast platforms. Make sure you subscribe and download the show. Victoria Henley, welcome back. How are you, my love?
I am doing great, Darvio. How are you?
I'm good. We haven't actually had a chance to bring you on our show for a while, so this is going to be fun.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Time flies. What has it been, like 2 or 3 years?
Yeah. It's been like 2 or 3 years. Yep, because the last time you were on this show, it was right before you launched yours. So it's been about a little bit over 2 years. So
well, it's awesome to be back.
Absolutely. We have a lot of stuff to get into. So first, tell everybody a little bit about Backstage Pass with Victoria. Let them know what the show is, what they can expect from it, all that good stuff.
Yeah, of course. Well, I always say that Backstage Pass, kind of how it came to fruition was sort of kismet. I mean, I had always wanted to work on the iHeartRadio platform. I've been a fan of their shows for so long. And of course, FCB Radio is just awesome and an awesome family atmosphere. But my background is fashion, and I was just coming off pretty much a residency on a home shopping network. And then they switched my contract over to fashion show liaisoning and a lot of travel. So one of the things that it was just my supervisor said I couldn't do Ohio Fashion Week, and then my contract changed, so I called up Jackie Bertolette, who, if you guys in Ohio are not familiar with Ohio Fashion Week, you totally need to check them out. I went, gave some opening remarks at the show, and then I met you, Darvio, and we started talking a little bit, and I said, hey, what do you think? You invited me to come on your show, and then I started thinking, I really think a Backstage Pass look at what goes on at Fashion Week and what goes on not only in fashion, but also with musicians, your favorite performers, or maybe some more obscure artists. So kind of as Backstage Pass has grown, it started out more so just in musicians and reality show contenders. We interviewed Cynthia Bailey from The Real Housewives and kind of, got her to spill some tea on what goes on behind the scenes there. And then we interviewed gospel artists, which I know you and I both love that genre. Yeah. And then as we started going, I just started expanding on that, because most people, if you're like me, you want to know what's happening behind the scenes, what makes things tick. So Backstage Pass, we've done quite a few episodes. I would love it if you follow me on Instagram. Of course, Darvio and iHeart and all of that is in my bio. But make sure you subscribe. Make sure you download Backstage Pass, because it's definitely a big mix, and I feel like we kind of offer a little something for everybody.
Absolutely. We're talking with Victoria Henley, and Robin. You are the fashionista on the show. So go ahead and get your questions out for Ms. Henley.
Well, I actually have a few here. So my first, I would say, is how would you tell an aspiring up-and-coming model to first approach the modeling industry?
That's a really good question. The modeling industry is something that is exciting. It's glamorous. There's a lot of different, and Robin, as a model, there are so many other platforms you can get involved in, hosting, acting, commercial work. So the opportunities are really endless. However, it can be very discouraging for young up-and-coming models, because one, and again, I know that I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but you have to be careful what kind of team you surround yourself with. You can get involved with the wrong kind of managers, and they'll manage you into the ground, or you can get discouraged, because you're going to hear the reality is, whether you're Tyra Banks or Cindy Crawford, or you've been on America's Next Top Model or been rejected from the show, rejection is a part of any industry. And then when you get into entertainment or modeling, you can easily multiply that by about 10. You're going to hear no's. You're going to get some doors slammed in your face. But the number one thing I would tell any aspiring model is remember why you started, have a plan set out for yourself. Modeling is something that can go on for a lifetime as long as you know how to diversify your career. You may not be able to run around in prom gowns, forever, but there are so many different stages and so many different areas of modeling you can get into. Also, you have to remember that no one person or group is the gatekeeper to the modeling industry. I mean, there are so many avenues. So it sounds cliched, but one door closes, just look, and you're going to see a lot more open doors waiting for you.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Rob.
Okay. Well, that is definitely a great answer. And I mean, I would definitely say that's something that a lot of people need to hear, because hearing the word no is definitely very hurtful.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. And so my second question is, what was it like to be on America's Next Top Model?
That's a question. How much time do we have? I mean, I could go on forever about. I know there's a lot to get into, so I'll give you the expedited version. It was a thrill of a lifetime. When I first signed the contract for the show, it said that this is an experience that's going to change your life forever. And I thought, oh, yeah, sure, I'll sign the dotted line, whatever. But it really does. It is a life-changing experience. And it's one of those things that I was really little, and my cousin Lindsay, who was a Ford model, did modeling lessons with me, and she would sit me down in front of America's Next Top Model. Back then, they were really focused on like the drama and the arguing and all of that. So I would sit there and watch these girls like screaming their heads off. And I said, Lindsay, those girls are crazy. I don't want to be on that show. And she's like, oh, that's going to be you one day. You'll be on there. So anyway, fast forward, I was the youngest in the house when I was selected to go in. They whittled it down. We were supposed to have 15 finalists, but Tyra Banks, made the executive decision. It was 12 only. So I was lucky to be one of the 12. They did audition, I think, about 130,000 maybe that year, because they incorporated social media. So we went on it, and I would say that it was I grew up a lot in that process. I learned a lot, not only about people and like building dynamics with certain people, but also I was always really looking and observing what was going on behind the scenes, like seeing how production works, seeing how Tyra Banks, like she is all business, and how she conducts herself, and seeing what I liked, about her and maybe what I wanted to emulate in my own career. I would have to say probably the highlight, though, was meeting Mara Hoffman, one of my favorite designers that I got to walk in her fashion show when she was premiering her new collection. And then Alicia Keys actually got lost on her way into the house. She pulled up in this little like Ford Expedition, no entourage. She was carrying like this little plastic bag with snacks in it. She was the most humble person. And she came in and sat down on the bed beside me, and we just sat there and talked. Like that probably to me was the coolest memory, just to sit there and talk to her, because she's this musical genius. And, we actually got to do a fashion show where she performed live. So I would say the whole experience is absolutely something that I will hold on to and just cherish forever.
Absolutely. We're talking with Victoria Henley. Of course, the host of Backstage Pass with Victoria. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the show. And Robin, I know you had another question before we start to wrap things up.
Yes. Okay. So my last question would be, who would you say is your model idol that inspired you to get started?
That's another great question. And it's another thing of how much time do we have, because I feel like there are so many inspirations. If you're taking it back just to the very beginning, it's another one of those things that kind of like meeting Darvio at Fashion Week, like what are the chances? But I was little, and of course it was, the early 2000s, I guess, and I had my little TV dinner tray, and I was sitting in front of the TV, and I saw this girl on a commercial, and she was just like so self-possessed and so elegant. And it turns out, ironically, that girl I was watching was my cousin Lindsay, who was a Ford model. So she had traveled all over the U.S., of course, did a lot of the shows that I eventually grew into doing: Miami, New York, LA Fashion Week, overseas things in Europe. So I got to learn from her, and which was really tremendous. I went to twice a week modeling lessons, and it was something that I learned so much about, kind of making yourself a brand, like building your portfolio, just the basics that everybody needs to know. So if you trace it back, Lindsay, I would say, was a huge inspiration for me. Obviously, the team I had rallied around me, like my mom, is just incredible, and she inspired me a lot. But as far as the model that I really look at as a mogul, who I really have a lot to owe to her, is Tyra Banks. The producers told me that when she watched my audition video, she said, I want that girl on the show. So I feel like, while production was heavily involved a lot in the show, Tyra was a big reason that I got called on. And I feel like she's done an amazing job. I mean, here she is hosting Dancing with the Stars. She's had a talk show. She's written books. She hasn't been afraid to try certain things. Some things have failed. She's gotten criticism and she's gotten acclaim, but she always just very gracefully and elegantly bounces back and just has been a real boss in the way that she's done everything, and I admire that.
Absolutely. And shout out to Mama Henley too, by the way. I see she helps you out a lot and really has your back.
Does.
So shout out to Mama Henley.
She does.
Absolutely.
Darvio, mamas. I mean, it's all about the mamas. We love our mamas.
Yes, absolutely. So I respect that and connect to that, because my mom helps me in the business as well. So make sure you tell your mom I said shout out. So real quick before we wrap up, obviously because of the Rona, a lot of stuff is shut down. But is there anything that you're working on? I know you have your own organization as well, and I know you do events and stuff like that. Like is there anything going on right now in the Rona era that you're working on?
Yeah, for sure. Like when we, right before we started, we were talking about just what I think we could all agree. 2020 has been a train wreck of a year. I think it's like Murphy's Law, everything that can possibly go wrong. But I will have to say that's been the word of the year, pivot. And I know everybody is probably just sick of that word, but I'm one of those people that, like, for a while, I thought at first, oh my gosh, I work in fashion and what is going to happen? Because this is just, everything's going to be shutting down. And surely enough, Los Angeles Fashion Week sent me the cancellation notice, and the New York Fashion Week. This is the first time, I think, since its inception they haven't done it. But I am lucky to work with a great home shopping network, a lot of different brands that allowed me actually to switch over our contracts from the New York and LA events to less concentrated areas. Like we did one in Tennessee, we did one in Atlanta, Georgia. People have been very responsible and very good about, distancing, wearing the masks, visiting the sanitizing station. So it's really surprising. There was one show where we actually did a fashionable face mask show, and one of the sponsors was Smile Shield, who does like glitzy embellished masks. So I feel like people have really been trying to make the best of a less than fortunate situation. My mom, Lynn, who we talked about, she's a great photographer. We're actually headed up to near Atlanta to do some studio shoots with models. So we've been able to do content creation, campaigns, still working with our home shopping networks, doing shows. It's really, from the way that we've been able to pivot it, I'm kind of surprised. Things have been going pretty well. And I mean, we're always about bringing new people on board, working with new people. So if you want to connect with me, the easiest way is just look me up on Instagram. It's at Victoria Henley. We're always looking for new models and designers and new people to bring on board. So definitely give me a shout, and we'd love to see you there.
Absolutely. Let everybody know how to follow you on social media, keep up with everything you got going on, and one more time, how to listen to the show.
Yes, of course. So I'm going to start out with Backstage Pass, just because I'm so honored, to be a part of the FCB radio family. It truly is an honor, Darvio, to work with you and to work with FCB. So all you guys listening, definitely hop on over on Facebook. Give us a like. It's facebook.com/backstagepass with Victoria. So you'll see the little iHeartRadio is the cover photo, and you'll actually be able to see, usually when we release the podcast, you can actually go on there and listen. Don't forget to download them, because downloading is free, and it's the easiest way to just listen to everything on the go. So we definitely want to make sure we see you guys there. On Facebook also, I have about 1 billion pages, so I'll try to go through them pretty quickly, but there's JTV Victoria. So if you like jewelry, I'm the Fashion Week liaison for Jewelry Television, and they're a home shopping network. So you can see a lot of the blogs and a lot of the creation that I've done there. So that's JTV Victoria. There's Victoria Henley's Magnifique, which is our fashion show page for the live events that we do. do. And of course, if you go over to Instagram, I'd love to see you guys there. My main pages are at Victoria Henley, which is where you can connect with me. There's at Lynn Henley Photography, who's my mom, a photographer. And then we also sell pecans. Believe it, that I know that's like a totally different thing, but we have a big farm that we protect on conservation easement. We're all about, kind of protecting the planet. But if you're in the mood for some holiday pecans, you can hop on over and follow us. It's at Vicky Lynn Pecans, and we would surely love to hear from you guys there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, spending some time with us. Really appreciate it. Thank you for all that you do, all your hard work with Backstage Pass and everything else. I absolutely appreciate it. It is an honor for me to work with you as well. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Darvio. Here's to many more episodes to come and a better 2021.
Absolutely.